Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelly. Today I am doing a kind of early May wrap up and June TBR. So let's get into what I have read in the last month since I posted the last video. So this is not only what I've read in May, because I did post that like a week before the end of the month, so there are a couple books that I finished after that I'm going to talk about now because I want to talk about them. So, the first book that I finished after recording that video was Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was a new release, clearly because it's a hardcover, and the rest of her books, which are right here, I don't have Happy Place, but the rest of them are all paperback, and it does in fact bother me that this one is a hardcover, but I really wanted to read it, and I am so glad I did. I gave it 5 stars. I adored this book. So this book is about Daphne and Miles. So Daphne is engaged to Peter, and he leaves her for Petra, who was dating Miles. They had been best friends for like ever. This happens in like the first chapter. I'm not spoiling anything. It's literally in the blurb. Daphne moves in with Miles because he had been living with Petra, who is now moving in with Peter, who dumped Daphne. So that's what it's about, kind of a little forced proximity story. I really enjoyed it. I read it a month ago, so I can't tell you exactly what I enjoyed about it, but I loved it. It's probably my favorite Emily Henry currently, but that is because it is the one that I read the most recently, and the other ones that I have read, it's been a year or two, I think, since I read them, so can't really judge based on that. The second book that I finished in the last month is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and I don't have a physical copy of this because I got it from my library. It was another new release that in either April or May, I believe. I was a little bit behind on that one because I didn't know who Abby Jimenez was before I saw the hype about that book, and I gave that 4.5 stars. I do think that I connected to the characters in that a little more than I connected to the characters in Funny Story. Funny Story was just like, I don't know. You know how sometimes something about it is just 5 stars? That's how Funny Story was for me, and Just for the Summer was like so close. It's a 4.5, maybe even a 4.75, but something is holding me back from giving it 5 stars, and I don't know what, and I wish I could tell you. I forget who it's about, and I don't have it in front of me. I forget their names, but basically the female main character is a traveling nurse, and she reads a Reddit post. Her friend shows her a Reddit post, and it's by the male main character, who writes about how every single person he has dated has gone on to meet the love of their lives right after they date. And the reason that our female main character's friend shows it to her is because she has the same issue, and so she messages him on Reddit, they start talking, and then she goes to meet him, and it goes from there. They were both pretty deep characters. There was a lot of backstory and there's a lot more angst in that one, I feel like, and not in a bad way. I thought it was well written, and I really connected to some of that. Third is another one that I don't have a physical copy of because it is on Kindle Unlimited, but it is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver, Heartless. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it for the most part. It was really cute and it was a really fun read. I just didn't really connect with the characters as much in that one, and there's a thing that happens at the end that I'm not usually a huge fan of, and it didn't completely turn me off the book in this one, but usually it does. I just couldn't really connect with the main characters in that one, so that's why it's a 4 star instead of a 5 star. But I thought it was well written, I thought it was a good story, I thought it was really fun. Basically the premise of that one is the best friend from the first book needs something to do for the summer because she works at a bar, but it's closing for renovations, I think, and she wants a break from the city. So she comes and she nannies, she's like a live-in nanny for one of the brothers from the first book, the older one. I think his name was Cade, who has a like 5-year-old son whose mother is just like not a part of their lives very much. She shows up on his birthday and that's about it. The next book that I finished was finally Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I had to renew this book from my library twice. That means, and I get them out for 21 days. That means I've had it for 2 months at this point. And granted, I finished it a couple weeks ago and I need to go return it. But still, apparently I gave it 5 stars. Thinking about it now, I think it would be more of a 4.5. But I'm going to leave it as 5 on Goodreads because you can't do half stars. But when I figure out story graph, I will have to go through and change so many to half stars because I love using a half star. Malibu Rising is about this family. It's about the Riva family, and they live in Malibu. And it's literary fiction, and it's kind of it's told in multiple perspectives and to like dual timeline. You go back in time to their parents and them growing up, and it kind of explains why they are who they are and how they are, and why what happens in the present day at the party that is like the whole thing is building up to. It explains a lot of why that happens. It was a really good story and it was so well written. This made me want to pick up more of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. This was the first one I've read by her. It was recommended by my friend Shelly. The next book I read was also recommended to me by my friend Shelly. And she recommends hits. So this, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, was the next one that I read. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is a thriller. It's about a bunch of people who go to their 10-year college reunion, and they used to be a group of 7 and now they're 6 because their senior year, their friend got murdered. It is told from Jess's perspective, and let's just say I did not like a single character in this book. And I don't think you're supposed to. And also, I did not see the resolution of the mystery coming. The who did it, which is the most important part, I didn't see it coming. I thought I knew what was going to happen, and I was wrong. And that is what I want if I'm reading a mystery or thriller. The next book that I read was Love at First Spite. Oh, sorry, it's just called At First Spite. At First Spite by Olivia Dade. This was supposed to be read for an in-person romance book club that I signed up for. That was supposed to be, well, it did happen this past week. I ended up having a really high anxiety day that day and didn't go. This book got 4 stars from me. It is about Athena. Her fiance breaks up with her right before the end of the book. Or before the start of the book, sorry. And she still has to move to the area because she's a teacher, and she kind of uprooted her entire life to get married to this man. And she had bought a house called the Spite House, which is why it's Love at First Spite. But she bought the Spite House, which they were gonna use. It's like a tiny 10-foot wide, maybe not even that, many feet wide house that was attached to her now ex-fiance's house, and they were gonna knock down all the walls and just make his house bigger. She bought it for him as like a wedding present, so she kind of used all of her savings for that, between that and the wedding, and she was supposed to move there for him anyway because he is a doctor with his brother and they like own a practice together. Really, his brother owns the practice. So she still has to move into the Spite House. So on one side of her will be her ex-fiance, and on the other side, she doesn't know this when she moves in, with like an alleyway, 4 or 5 foot alleyway, I think they say. In between them is his brother. And so she does everything she can to spite him because he is a big part of the reason that her and her now ex broke up. He influenced it a lot. So that is why they don't really like each other at the beginning of the book. Fair. I wouldn't like him either. Yeah, and then you just kind of go from there. She's trying to get her life together. She's trying to figure her stuff out. I would say there are trigger warnings at the beginning of this book. It is not a heavy book necessarily, but there is a part of it that could be very triggering if you have struggled with depression. I thought it was a very good representation of depression, actually. I highlighted quite a bit of that part of the book because I felt like the author was in my head for that part of it. But if that is something that you struggle to read or that makes your mental health worse, don't read that book. The author put in trigger warnings at the beginning. If you decide to pick that up, read those first. The seventh and final book that I read this month was An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. It is one of the Bridgerton books because Bridgerton Season 3 Part 1 came out this month. After Season 3 came out, I was chatting with some people about it, and they said that Benedict's book was their favorite book of the Bridgerton books. It sounded like she had read all of the books, or at least most of them. And I wanted more Bridgerton content because 4 episodes is simply not enough. And so I decided I'd already read Colin and Penelope's book in preparation for the new season coming out. I've read it twice, I think, at this point. I read Benedict and Sophie's book. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is obviously about Benedict Bridgerton and Sophie, whose last name I forget, and honestly it's not very important. It is a little bit of like a Cinderella-esque storyline at the beginning, especially, like stepmom, stepsisters. She doesn't leave a shoe behind, but he doesn't know who she is at a masquerade ball. You get where I'm going with this. It was great, it was cute. It was Bridgerton. So yeah, 4.5 stars. So currently I am in the middle of not in the middle of, but you know, I am currently reading Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which is my sister's recommendation, and The Overstory by Richard Powers, which is like, I'm tabbing it for my first time, like, really annotating a book, but it deserves it. I'm gonna assume you know what Six of Crows is about, because who doesn't at this point, but it's basically like a fantasy heist book. Then there's a little romance. I just keep pretending that they're older than they are, because they're like 16 to 19, I think, in the book, and I just, for some reason, now that I am late 20s, I guess, I don't like that. So I'm pretending they're older, just like they pretended they were older in the show, because that's why I'm reading it. That and it's my sister's favorite book. The Overstory is like a bunch of, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's about trees and how nature interacts with humanity and what we can learn from nature and why we need to respect nature and help keep nature alive. As an environmental scientist and a bit of a nerd, I am really enjoying it. I have read 3 of the stories so far. The first 2 really like connected with me, took notes, everything. The 3rd one was good, but for some reason it didn't hit as much. Now, the only thing I did not do before sitting down to film this was find my TBR jar. I have genuinely no idea where I put that, which means that I'm just gonna be choosing my TBR on my own, which means I'm gonna pick more because I already know I want to read them. So we're gonna start off with, do I have to get them? I have to get them. This feels like such a small stack after what I read this month, but this is not actually everything I want to read. But let's go through this real quick before my camera dies. I finally watched Dune, and then went to see Dune Part 2 with my brother. So now I want to read the books. I have 7 of them. They were my dad's. This is I just pulled down Dune, the first one in the Dune part of it. I'll probably start with one of the prequels. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. And then on the sci-fi theme, because I didn't read any sci-fi, I don't think, last month, Journey to the Center of the Earth, which has been on my TBR for a really long time, and I just really want to read it. These are both kind of classics, so I don't know how to explain Dune. Go watch the movie. If you don't know what Journey to the Center of the Earth is, go watch the movie with Brendan Fraser and Josh Hutcherson. That's how I know. That's not the same story, but they reference it. Basically, it's about a journey to the center of the Earth, and it's one of the sci-fi's, like, most classic books ever. Next up is Songs in Ursa Major. I don't know why I said it like that. By Emma Brody. This is about singer-songwriters Jane Quinn and Jessie Reed in 1969 and their like rise to fame and how they broke up as a band and music and stuff. I'm honestly, the back's pretty vague, I'm not totally sure, but it sounded good when I bought it. Obviously, it's a pretty cover. Feels like a good summer read. And then finally, from my physical TBR, finally gonna read Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This is about Asa, who is trying to be a good student, a good friend, and a good daughter, and solve a mystery. She's 16. Because John Green really, I think, only writes YA, or used to only write YA. He wrote a nonfiction recently, I think. The movie came out this past month, so I've been thinking about it. I kind of want to just reread all of John Green's books. The next things that are on my TBR that I don't have because they're not out yet are Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, which comes out June 11th, I want to say. It's like relatively soon. And then Ashley Poston is coming out with a new book, and I already forget what it's called. I just found out about it earlier today. I didn't actually know she was coming out with a new book. So that's exciting, and I will be trying to get both of those. I think the Ashley Poston book comes out towards the end of the month, so I might not read that this month. That might be a July read. I can't believe it's June already. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my face and hear me talk, if I can talk again, if you want to see and hear more of me, hit subscribe and leave a comment down below about what you're reading this month or what you read last month, or what you're watching if you're not a big reader or if you've been in a reading slump. Whatever you've been consuming, whatever kind of media you're consuming, let me know. And I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day. Love you, bye. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.